gain some peace and gain confidence as they struggle how to raise happy and well-adjusted kids in a society that is so driven by technology and just such a fast-paced society that we live in today. And just really help them to simplify their lives and create a family lifestyle that's more in line with who they truly are. And when you do that, you're able to enjoy life more and you're able to enjoy your family more. And I remember, I guess I was in my early 20s, I was living at home and sitting around the dinner table with my mom and dad, and we're having a discussion, and I don't remember what the discussion was about, but apparently it wasn't going too good. Because I remember my dad just turning to me and saying, "What the hell's the matter with you?" And so I told him, I said, "I'm not happy." And it wasn't that I wasn't happy with the Reds or with dinner. I wasn't happy with me. I wasn't happy with life. And I could see it just really hit him hard just by the look on their face. You know that pit of the stomach feeling you get sometimes? And it's just like, that's what they were living. Because they took it all on themselves. But, you know, they were great parents. They did an awesome job raising 8 kids. But they just didn't have the skills or the tools to deal with the situation or to even prevent it. And so that's one of my motivations for being a family and parenting coach, so that as you raise your kids, you don't have to hear those words at that depth. I'm not happy. And as I went through my parenting or my coaching journey, there was a quote by Mahatma Gandhi that really stuck with me. It was, "Be the change you want to see in the world." And what I like to do as a family parenting coach is bring that down to a more personal level, so that you can be the change that you want to see in your family. And there's been talking with parents, there's lots of changes they like to make. And one of the common ones is the acting out and the bickering in the house. And that's what we're going to talk about tonight. So stop tantrums in their tracks. 3 simple strategies to get your kids to quit acting out. So if you're fed up with acting out and bickering at the house, or if you're frustrated by the way that you react when the kids push your buttons, or if you just feel like, you know, something can be better, something's just missing here, well, you're in the right place, because what I'm going to share with you tonight is my CEC method that will allow you to have the awareness and give you the tools so that you can be the change you want to see in your family. So the CEC method consists of being able to connect, engage, and communicate with your kids. A couple years ago, I had to go through some training to be a basketball coach at the kids' school. It was on child protection. And during that training, there was a video where they actually interviewed some of the predators, and they interviewed some of the children. And going through there and watching that, it really hit home with me of how important this is. Because these predators, they were very smart, very calculated people. And they were describing how they would go and watch the kids and observe them and prey upon the things that were missing in their life. And I'm not talking about the physical stuff, but just by the way the kids carried themselves and how they interacted with others, they would prey upon that. And I remember one little girl, they asked, they're like, "Why didn't you just say something to your parents?" She said, "I was afraid. I didn't think they would believe me." And that's where, you know, by going through here and learning to connect, engage, and communicate with your kids, it'll get your kids at a comfort level so that they're able to tell you anything. And it'll also help them to be more self-confident so that they're going to be less likely to be bullied and, God forbid, abused. But if something does happen, they can come to you so you can be there for them and get things to stop and stop immediately. So the first part of this is to connect. And we're going to talk about a couple of strategies here to build a better connection. And this connection that you have with your kids is one of the most important things you can provide for them. Because that's the foundation for everything else, is having that true connection with your kids. But it's so easy for parents to just coexist with our kids, right? Be the disciplinarian, be the provider, be the event planner, or the ever-popular taxi driver. Man, it's so easy that we just kind of get caught up on all this external stuff and get caught on the treadmill of life that we miss out on the bigger picture. So our job here on earth as parents is to teach our kids, provide for our kids, and give them an environment so that they can discover who they truly are. Because that's where kids, when they get older, they don't know who they are, and they're just going every which other direction. And in order to do that and to provide that for them, first thing we need to do is be able to connect with them. So the first strategy we're going to talk about in creating this connection is put yourself first. Now, if you're grown up like me, that's not how I was raised. I was raised, you put everybody else first because you don't want to be selfish. Or you might be thinking, wait a minute. You're talking to us about connecting with our kids and trying to, be engaged with them. Why do I want to put myself first? Well, the reason we want to do that is because we really want to make sure that we're fulfilled as individuals first. And having those basic needs and those values that we have in place. Because when we do that, and we're fulfilled as an individual, now we're going to be a better parent. We're going to be a better spouse. We're going to be a better friend, a better coworker. And that's why it's important to start where we're at. And it's really important, too, with being, mothers and fathers of multiples, having that strong support system. And one of those is the marriage. And so putting yourself first so you can be a great spouse. And putting your marriage first so that you can provide all the love that you can for your kids. Because if you're only giving yourself only half, well, you only have half to give your kids. And that's why it's important to really go about and take care of your personal needs and honor and cherish those so that you can be in a position to give your kids 100% of you. So the next part of it is acceptance. So we've accepted ourselves. But the next part we need to do is to accept our kids. And in order to do that, we have to kind of let go of what other people think. We're on a camping trip we go on every year, and there's like 6 or 7 families, and we're sitting around a campfire, obviously talking about the kids and stuff. And I remember one of the moms, she shared, she's like, yeah, when she gets older, I think I'll be okay when she comes home and has blue hair. And I thought, wow. I said, that's pretty cool, to really be at a place to accept your kids for wherever they're at on their journey. And it's a great reminder for me because, like right now, my son, he doesn't want to get his hair cut. So his hair's down, it's curling across his eyes, and he's giving it this all the time. And so I just keep trying to, take a deep breath, and I just let him express himself. And luckily, my wife, she's a great support. She's like, oh, you're fine, you look beautiful just the way you are. And I'm like, okay, we're just going to roll with this. But again, it really means so much to the kids to just accept them for who they are. And a lot of that, again, is quit worrying about what other people think. I know my mom, she's one of them. She's 85. She has no filter. Why didn't he get his hair cut? What's wrong with him? Like, what are you doing with your kids? And again, just really letting that go and not worrying about it and just focusing on our kids and what their unique and individual talents and traits are. And the other half of it, too, is our dreams. We all have dreams for our kids. But whose dream do you want your kids to live? So when they're old and grown through, do you want them to go through life having lived your dreams? Or do you want them to have lived their own dreams? And that's all part of that environment I talked about. Allowing them to discover their dreams. And when they discover those dreams, be there to support them so that they can have those dreams fulfilled. And the more you accept your kids, the better that connection is going to be. Now the third part of building this connection is significance. Just letting your kids know that they matter. And there's so much stuff, I mean, kids are constantly being told what to do, and they got to think, do I really matter? But give them that boost that, you care, you do matter, and you are important to us, as a huge step. And one way you can do that is to ask the right questions. So what do you think about this? How do you feel about that? Just really getting to know that their opinion counts. It's important too, especially with boys. The part where getting in touch with how they feel and being able to relate their outside world to their inside world, what's going on inside them, and just having those conversations with them is a huge part for them, just to really feel like they matter. Mom and Dad really care what I think about something. How cool is that? And the other part too is you can let them be a part of the decision-making process. Now, this doesn't mean they get to run the house and whatever they say is go. Your parents, it's democracy, you have veto power. But really just getting in touch with them and having them, again, give their opinions. In our house, we let them have their opinion on what their punishment should be. They know they're not supposed to hit each other. So it's like, all right, what would be an appropriate punishment for this? Or what would be an appropriate punishment for that? So you allow them to come up with this stuff. And the funny thing is, a lot of times they come up with punishments that are harsher than what I would come up with. And even if they're not, just being flexible, it's like, all right, we'll try it. But again, remember the purpose of this punishment is to change your behavior. And if your behavior's not changing, well, then we'll do it my way. And when you go ahead and do this, and not just with the punishment or any type of game plan you're coming up with the kids, you're going to get more buy-in because they were part of it. And especially when it comes to the disciplining part, it's easy. It's easy to execute. Well, remember what you said, no TV. That's what we agreed upon. It was your idea, so it makes it a lot easier, and you don't have to make those quick snap decisions. All right, you're grounded for 3 weeks. You get all mad, and it's like, boom. It's like, okay, you already have things set up, and they were part of it. So they're going to have more buy-in into the situation. And also, it's a great opportunity for them to be able to learn the decision-making process. So even if it's something simple like, all right, we got to clean the house, helping them think in a bigger terms, like, all right, we have this to do, and that to do. Who wants to do this? And just really give them the opportunity to start thinking about things and be able to make decisions on how they want to do stuff. And as you know, going through life, it's all about choices, decisions, and consequences. So the more we support them in creating a solid foundation of being able to make decisions, the better off they're going to be. And again, the more you involve them, the more they're going to feel significant. And again, if you recall that, think back what the kids go through in a day. They're told when to sit, when to stand, when to speak, when to be quiet, when to go to the bathroom, when to eat, when not to eat, when they can get a drink, right? They're always being told stuff. So just really getting them involved and asking their opinion is a huge, huge benefit for them, and it'll really help your relationship. So again, just kind of a recap of creating this connection. We want to put yourself first. So one thing that you can do, just find one thing you can do to put yourself first. I heard earlier you guys were talking about pampering yourselves. That's an awesome way to do it. And doing it guilt-free because you're not doing it out of selfishness, you're doing it out of love. And acceptance. Again, accept your kids for who they are and let go about worrying about what other people think. And as we just discussed, significance. Allow them to be part of the decision-making process. Ask them what their opinions are. And let them know that, hey, they do matter. So the next part we're going to talk about is engage. And just like these gears, if they weren't engaged, they could be spinning at different rates or different directions, and you don't know where they're going. But as parents, we have the opportunity to be able to help our kids direct the direction where they go in life, and because they have so many outside influences, and most of them aren't all that great. So that really gives us an opportunity to help, channel our kids into a direction where we want them to start exploring. And the way we do that is by engaging. And if you think about it, I'm a people watcher. So you go to, say, a basketball game or volleyball game or soccer game, and you watch the other parents. They're on the phone, or they're doing messages or email, or off with the other parents just having their little social event. They're not engaged. They're there, but they're just not engaged with the kids. Or perhaps you hear your little girl come home, she's telling you something cool while you're typing away. You hear, but you didn't listen because you're too worried about your to-do list that you have to do later on. It's like, how do you think that makes them feel? They got something great they want to share with you, but it's like talking to the wall. So what we want to talk about are 4 different areas of engagement. And these are the 4 components of who we are as humans. To be able to engage physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. So if we look at being engaged physically, one of the things we can do is just take time to make time to be there. If any of you are as old as me, you might recall a song that kind of has that in the lyrics. You got to take time to make time to be there. And it's true. And really, because there's so much going on and so many activities going on, that again, we can get easily caught up in just being the event planner and getting kids here and there. But really take time to physically be there for your kids. And it doesn't have to be anything huge. I remember my son and I had a boys' night out. I forget where the girls had gone to, some party or whatever. And so we went and grabbed some pizza, and I'm thinking, okay, we got to figure out what we're going to do. So all right, what do you want to do now? We had dinner. He just wanted to go back to the house, watch college football, and toss us a little football around. And yes, Mom, I was throwing ball in the house, and we didn't break anything. But it was cool. It wasn't anything big. It was just really just spending that time together. And he shared with my wife later on that night. He's like, oh, that was cool. It was just me and Dad just hanging out. So again, it helped me take the pressure off of worrying about creating this great event for them. They just want our time. And even especially when you have multiples, really making it a priority to spend one-on-one time with them. And again, it doesn't have to be a half a day. It can be 15 minutes. Just think how special your kids are going to feel if they know this next 15 minutes is theirs, not their siblings. It's really going to make them feel special, and they're going to be more wanting to engage with you as well. The next part is to be engaged mentally. And what I'm talking about here is not just helping them out with their homework, but, and again, as I mentioned earlier, there's so many influences coming into our kids' minds and ears through the internet, through the games, through the television. They're just getting bombarded with messages. And then again, this is an opportunity for us to kind of channel those things and help them start learning some, what I call, more productive things. And again, it can be something easy. You can pick a book, read a book, a magazine article, or newspaper, and discuss it with them. You can go back, what did you think about this? How did you feel about that? And again, just really be able to stimulate their mind also. Or just play word puzzle games, or any kind of game where they start thinking and using their brain in a productive thing. Like TV is just mind-numbing sometimes. And that's where, as you go through this, one of the cool things is that your mind's going to get engaged, right? You're going to start using your mind. They're going to use their mind. And the best part is you're doing it together, doing it with them. Then we want to be engaged with them emotionally and really helping them to get in touch with their feelings. Nowadays, there's a ton of research and work going on with regards to social emotional intelligence. And it's because, the kids get all this input and it's like a puzzle piece in their brain. They're trying to put all these puzzle pieces together, but they can't. They don't have the filters and they don't have the experience that we do. And that's why it's important for us as parents to be there and help them to start working through that process and learning how to express their feelings. And again, the best way to do it is be the change you want to see in them. You share with them first. Hey, I was doing this the other day and it made me feel like this. Or, even if you're watching television, how do you think it feels to be that kid? And just bringing those questions up and exploring what's going on inside their brain. so that you can start helping them to make sense of things and feel that sense that it's okay to express my emotions. And it's also important too to make sure that it's the joyful moments too, not just sad moments. Like I always ask my son during the football game when they're all coming out, like, man, could you imagine what it feels like to go out there, 60,000 people screaming for you? And just to really help them to kind of, again, just go inside and get in touch with that. And having, emotionally strong kids is a huge benefit because, as you know, as we go through life, there's going to be challenges. There's going to be bumps in the road. And the stronger they are emotionally, the easier it is going to be for them to handle those challenges. So the last part of it is to engage them spiritually, whatever that means to you. And the cool part is just be curious and be vulnerable. And this is one area where parents typically shy away from because we like to make sure, present this image to our kids that we know everything. And we can't know everything about spirituality. It's based on beliefs. So there's not everything we can prove in all this. So people tend to shy away from that. But it's cool just to go through and again, just share with them what you think and find out what they feel and see how they see things. Because, it's great just to see the world through the eyes of a child sometimes. Because the way I picture it is we're born, we got this 360-degree field of vision. And as we get older, we start learning more and more and more, and all we do is get more and more tunnel vision. So it's a great benefit for us, too, to really just find out where kids are thinking and to start thinking about things like that ourselves. And again, before you have this conversation with them, you may have to put yourself first. What does spirituality mean to me? Myself, spirituality and religion are two different things. But again, whatever spirituality means to you and whatever it means to their kids, just really being a part of that because it's just a journey of life. And just to be able to go through and share that journey with them is a gift to you and it's a gift to them. So here's a couple tools that you can use to help with engaging with your kids. I call it the so what drill. Freeing yourself from the electronic leash. So you're going through school, you heard of Pavlov and his dog based on conditioning, right? But if you think about it, how many of us are like Pavlov's dog? That cell phone buzzes, burps, chirps, whatever, boom, in the hand, got the code in, read the message, and replied back in 4.3 seconds. As though it was really that important. So you might be having a middle conversation with your kids and also like, oh, what were you saying? Right? How do you think that makes your kids feel? So what if you don't respond to that text message right away? So what if somebody has to leave a voicemail? That's what it's there for. Well, the big so what is to your kids. So that they can recognize that when you're having a conversation with them, that they are more important. They are more significant than that phone. And another thing you can do, we're always well accustomed to putting our kids in timeout. We can put ourselves in time in. Just take the time where the phone's away, the work's away, and more importantly, everything that happened earlier in the day, let it go. Everything that's got to happen later on and stuff that's on your to-do list, let it go. And just be totally present with your kids. Can you imagine the feeling your kids have when they come and talk with you and it feels like the whole world stops just for them? That's going to be an awesome feeling for them. And again, it's going to help your relationship with them as well. And the last one is what I call a digital detox. And so what you can do is pick a certain day, however long you want to do it for, a couple hours, maybe you can start with 15 minutes. No cell phones, no television, no radio, no electronics at all. And do something really, really crazy. Spend time together as a family. Talk to each other without having to text. And you may find that the kids, they actually might talk to each other and play with each other. Or you might find some cool games that have been collected dust up on the shelf. You can just take this opportunity to spend some quality time with your kids, to get to know them, to connect with them, and to engage with them. So I remember somebody on TV the other day said it best, love is spelled T-I-M-E. That means the world to your kids. So the last part of the CEC method is to communicate. So in order to really have that good engagement, that good connection with our kids, we need to be able to communicate effectively. And not only that, think of the benefits. You're going to have better conflict resolution in the house. You're going to have less bickering. And you're going to have deeper conversations. And that's just inside the house. When they go outside the house and they're on their own, or even on school and a playground, having those communication skills are going to serve them throughout their life. And the best way to teach them communication skills is to be the change, is to show them how to communicate by role model and example. Like the old saying goes, our actions scream so loud, kids can't hear a word we're saying. So that's why it's important for us to really lead them in demonstrating good communication. Now the problem lies in that a lot of people's definition of good communication is getting my ideas and my thoughts into somebody else's head. But again, if you think about it, that's just half the battle. Because if you just do that with your kids, you're going to leave your kids feeling empty. Because obviously their opinion doesn't matter. But what we're going to focus on tonight is talk about a couple tools so that you can communicate in order to create that connection with your kids. Because again, that connection that we have with them is one of the most important things we can give them. So the first communication tool that I'd like to share with you is active listening through acknowledging and validating. And when I refer to acknowledging, it's a deeper way of mirroring back or paraphrasing what they said. And when you do that, there's several things that'll come about. One of them is they're going to know that you actually listened and not just heard them. And when you show that to them, that you're actually listening, it shows that that's a sign of respect. And when you're respecting people and listening to them, they're going to be more apt to listen to you. And one of the other cool things about it is for the person who's talking that you're reflecting back to and acknowledging, they get to hear what they just said coming out of somebody else's mouth, which isn't always the same thing. Because there's a lot of times what's in their head and what comes out isn't the same. So if there's an argument and they're talking about this, thinking one thing, you're hearing this, yeah, you guys might be on the same page, but you're on a different book. And good luck having good conflict resolution when you're not even in the same page on the same book. And one of the other things, if you notice, when there's an argument, what happens? The voices tend to get louder and louder and louder. Why? Because they want to be heard. But when you acknowledge them, so they know that you really truly listen to them, it's like a balloon with tension in it. Just lets all that tension out. And now you're going to be able to have a discussion. Even if you disagree, it's going to be at a lot less tension. And it's going to be a lot more productive. So here's a couple things you can do. Say, when you start out acknowledging, so what you're telling me is, or if I understand you correctly, or in other words, so basically you're just going to preface this thing like, hey, this is what I heard. You're not judging it, right or wrong. You're not agreeing or disagreeing with it. You're just simply saying, hey, this is what I heard you say. And again, you got to get to that point so that you make sure that you both are starting from the same spot. Now, the second part of it is to validate. And when we validate, we're going to validate their emotions. So basically, you're going to allow them to say, it's okay to feel the way they feel. And again, we're not judging it, whether it's right or it's wrong, or whether you agree or disagree. It's just simply a matter of letting them know that, hey, I can see things from your perspective. So again, part of that can be, it's perfectly understandable that you feel that way. Or it can be very frustrating when that happens. Or in the last part here, it's understandable you were disappointed because you spent a lot of time studying and you didn't get the grades you wanted. So in this last example here, we're actually doing both. So the first part, we're validating that they're disappointed. Hey, it's understandable you're disappointed. And the second part is you're acknowledging that they studied hard and they didn't get the grade they wanted. So it doesn't matter what order you do it in, but again, you just want to make sure that they get it, that you understand where they're coming from. And I had a client who shared with me, she tried this with her son. She thought she was being a super mom and signed him up for this cool soccer club, and he hated it. And he would complain and complain and complain every time he had to go to practice. So then one time, she just, when he started complaining, she's just like, wow, I can understand why you don't want to go to practice. If he's going to stand there and yell and scream at you like a drill sergeant, that would stink. She said that was it. The complaining stopped. So it just goes to show that he, through all his complaining, wanted to make sure his mom understood where he was going, what he was experiencing. And by her going and acknowledging and validating, he knew that, she got it. She understood where he was at and what he was going through. So the second tool is empathetic listening. So what we're talking about here is when you use your eyes and your ears and your heart and using your instincts to really observe your kids. Listening to the tone of their voice, the pace at which they're talking, looking at their eyes, their face, their body posture, are they slouching? And just really get into where your kids are at emotionally. Because that's the goal of empathetic listening. Just to experience a situation from the other person's perspective. And when you do that, then you can go through and then you can speak to them at an appropriate emotional level. So if they're excited, well, be energetic for them. There's nothing worse than a kid come home all excited like, oh, that was nice. How's that going to make them feel? This balloon just went. Or if they're scared, create that feeling of safety by being reassuring. Or if your kids are hyperactive, be very focused and very calm. And if they're angry, be extra patient. And especially if they're angry with you, it gets to be a little bit more of a challenge. But again, just really being in a place to put yourself where they're at is going to help them create this environment so that they feel comfortable in expressing their emotions. Because the last thing we want our kids to do is to bury their emotions. Because when they bury their emotions, it's like burying a worm. It's always going to find its way up to the top. And with kids, when it finds its way up to the top, it usually comes in form of acting out or fighting or some other negative behavior. So some communication tools that you can use to help with your active listening and your empathetic listening. Use open-ended questions. How, what, where, instead of is or did. Because we don't want to give them that easy way out and just giving us a yes, no, or one-word answer. Because again, we're going to communicate with the thought of creating connection. So the more we ask these open-ended questions, it'll help the kids, give them the opportunity to draw out of them from what they're thinking and what they're feeling. And again, you got to be patient with it. And sometimes it's like pulling teeth. But if you're consistent with it and patient with it, they're going to get the message that, okay, when they ask a question, mom and dad ask a question, it's not just going to be yes or no is going to suffice for them. So instead of saying, did you do your homework today? What homework do you have? Again, allows them to explain things. Are you telling me the truth? Instead of saying that, say, how truthful are you being with me right now? Instead of asking me, are your chores done? So what chores do you have to do yet? Or do you need help? Instead of that yes or no, it's like, how can I help you? And one of the things you want to kind of shy away from is the word why. For whatever reason, in human language, when somebody asks why, it kind of, people put up the defense. So just really just rephrasing things so that they don't feel like they're being attacked. And you're just coming from a place of curiosity. And it really helps put them at ease, knowing that you're not there to judge them. So the second one tool here to create this communication for connection is proactive conversations. And this is where it's important to put yourself first so that you're at a good place to let your intuition kick in. So if you notice something's different about your kids, they're not acting quite right, or something, you just get a gut feeling that something's not going on. Be curious and have those conversations rather than waiting for them to act out. And another part of being proactive is when they do act out. Help them to figure out why they're acting out. And this thing has really helped me is if you think about it in terms of focus on the root, not the fruit. So if you picture this nice apple tree and the trunk, and then you've got these roots down below. If the roots are healthy and they're in healthy soil, it's going to produce sweet fruit. But if the roots are damaged or they don't have any water, any nutrients, the fruit's not going to be as sweet. So the fruits on the tree is the external part. That's our kids' behavior. So instead of just as soon as they do something wrong, boom, jump into discipline mode, be more proactive and figure out, okay, what's going on? What's going on inside them? What are the roots that are causing this behavior? And my wife and I, we actually had this really come through for us earlier this year. Our daughter, she's nicer to our son than he is to her. But she went through this spell where she was just being mean and just being ornery with him and picking fights with him all the time. And so we were like, what are you doing? And she'd get all upset. I don't know why I'm acting like this. I'm trying to be nice, but I don't know why. I used to be so nice to him. And so she was all upset about it because she didn't get it, right? Because she couldn't figure out what was going on inside of her. Well, one of the cool things my wife does with the kids is she'll take turns and laying down with them at night, and because that's their time to share stuff. And she's learned a ton of stuff in the little 15 minutes that she lays down with them before they go to bed. And the one night, my daughter was, she was upset and telling that, she was having some issues with some friends at school, the way they were treating her. And it was really upsetting her. And as my wife kept talking with her, and he's like, how long's this been going on? It's been about, it was like a month. And we're like, oh, gee, that's funny. That's around about the same time you started treating your brother poorly. And so it was good for us to, help make that connection, to understand why she was going through that. And she got it. She's only in 3rd grade, but she got it. And it was so comforting to her that at least she understood why she was acting that way. And again, it would help her to just to be able to, think a little bit more about it, and it was easier for her to forgive herself. And so just having those, conversations with them when they do act out, because I know it's just, for me, I was never raised in a very patient family, and I was never very patient, as my wife would surely attest to. But thanks for having me back. But it's funny because when the kids act out, I just have that visual of the tree. And so, that just gives me that split second so I don't go into reacting mode. And it gives me a chance to think about things and be able to respond to them and find out, okay, what's going on that caused that behavior? Because once you do that, there's always time for the discipline because it's important to be consistent. But having those conversations and getting them to that point, when they have to do their punishment, they're going to be at a better place. They're not going to still be all upset because you've talked through this and they understood at least some idea why they were acting the way they were acting. So kind of a review here of communicate, the active listening through acknowledge and validating is really important. And the empathetic listening of just really putting yourself in their shoes and really paying attention to where they're at so that you can speak to them in an appropriate manner, in an appropriate emotional state to kind of match where they're at. And if you think about it, all the communication tools we talked about, they all had to do with listening. Because one of the goals that we want to do as parents is, seek first to understand rather than being understood. It's so easy for us to make sure that the kids understand why this isn't wrong or why we want things a certain way. But it'll have a huge impact for you if you just reverse that and understand where they're coming from first. Because once you do that, then you have a nice, easier way to connect with them and to communicate with them. So that's the CEC method. You know, connect, engage, and communicate with your kids. You know, are your kids never going to act out? No. But by doing this, you know, there's going to be some benefits from it. You know, you're going to greatly decrease their need to act out. Again, they're not burying that worm anymore, and that worm's not finding its way out, and it's, you know, wreaking havoc on their brother or sister. You know, so it's going to decrease that for you. And it's going to help develop a solid foundation to your relationship with your kids. And it's going to improve their own emotional intelligence. And again, as they go through life and, you know, when they're dealing with things at school or outside the home, helping them to be emotionally strong is going to be a huge benefit for them as they go and take care of different challenges that come in their life. And again, it's going to help you to communicate on a deeper level. And as parents, you know, it's all part of the journey to really get to know your kids and to learn as much as you can about them and just enjoy that journey and to be there with them so that, you know, they can tell you anything. God forbid they get bullied or worse, that they have the courage and the comfort to be able to come and talk to you and to tell you anything at all. So by using these tools and this awareness, again, it can have a great impact on your family. And one of the things that's really important, though, is to continue to grow and to continue this growth mindset. Because what happens a lot of times is we start on things and then we kind of drift out. And I've experienced that work. They'll come up with this new program and team building thing, and everybody's all gung-ho for it, and then things just kind of slowly drift back and drift back. And people end up in their old thinking habits and their old working habits. So that's why, you know, I want you to really continue to grow yourself personally and to create that environment for your kids. And that's why I created a program in order to be able to do that. So it's called Taking Your Family from Surviving to Thriving. In talking with parents, there's so many times that, oh, I can't wait just to get through this quarter. Oh, I can't wait to just get through this week. Oh, or I can't wait to get through winter. You heard that a lot this year, right? Instead of just surviving, you know, think about thriving. So I experienced it with my kids the one time. My wife had to travel for work, and I'm thinking, oh, God, she's going to be gone 5 days. You know, single parent appreciation week for me. And I was like, man, what am I going to do to survive? And I was like, nah, that's not good enough. I don't want to just survive and just get through this week. I want to thrive. I want to do stuff and just do some special things with the kids. And it really helped me to be able to, you know, the week went by a lot easier and a lot faster. Because now I'm focused on, instead of just surviving and keep my head above water, it's really to start thriving and do some things with the kids and having that, taking advantage of that special time with them. So again, by going through and keeping track of, you know, this growth mindset so that you stay within a group and a community where you continue to grow and learn new tools and new awareness of different kids' behavior is going to really help you to grow as a family. So what this program does is there'll be 12 monthly videos. So each month I'll send out a link to the video, and you can watch it, you know, anytime you want, anywhere you want, as long as you got internet access. So I know everybody's busy, so this works out really well to be able to just do this stuff on your own when the kids are to bed or whatever time works for you. And then also a part of this, we'll have 6 open mic nights. So basically I'll provide a conference call number. You guys can call in and discuss things on the video or any other parenting topic and get them to figure out how that incorporates and how that works for you and your family. So we can just talk about, you know, what's working, what's not working, what can we do different in order to get the goals and the behavior and whatever issues you're working with. So, and the cool thing, I love having big groups like this, is because you all have that common bond of having multiple kids, is is because you have that special link. And some of the topics may be ones that other can relate to, but because you guys have that special bonding and association, I would like to see this to be a part of. So this series is going to be for this group. So it's your own kind of private special group that, as we talk about some of these things, you can share with each other, how it's playing out in your house. And if there's something that's not working for you, or you got a question about something, it's a pretty good idea somebody else is going through that same issue. So in order to do that and to really try to get as many people involved as possible, I made it as affordable as possible. So it's only $25. So if you break it out on a monthly basis, it's less than a gallon of gasoline, unfortunately. I wish it was cheaper. But so again, and a part of it too, and that's why we're recording this tonight. I know it's spring break, and so I'm going to provide a link out, making sure all the technology gods are in alignment and my video works out well, and send it out to the rest of the members that aren't here. And you can talk to them if, follow up with them too, and have them. And I think it'd be really great because just listening early on, the different things you guys do together, I think it'd be really powerful, one, to bring you guys together, and also two, to have a great benefit for your families and for your own personal sanity in a lot of cases, especially with all the stresses with kids and everything going on. I wanted to share with you some comments that a couple of parents had with regards to whether this video series was right for them because they had toddlers and young kids. And it totally makes sense because the coaching process that I use, it starts from the inside out. And if you think of it in terms of the root and the fruit, you want to produce really good, sweet fruit. Well, it's important to take care of the root. And even when a tree is young, it's important to take care of the soil and nurture the soil so that it has a healthy environment. And that's what this video series will enable you to do. Because in each topic, there's going to be core values that are taught that are going to apply to toddlers all the way up through adults. And that's the beauty of the coaching process that I use, because it starts from the inside out. We're not just worrying about the symptoms. We're not worrying about the fruit. We're taking care of the root. So, for instance, in the first video, it's about story time. The story that the kids tell themselves. I'm confident, or I'm not smart enough, I'm not this enough, I'm not that enough. All that input in their head, that these stories they come up with. Well, we as parents are able to contribute to that. So having that awareness of how to do that so that they produce healthy stories is going to apply again to any age kids. And even topics that seem like they don't make any sense, like homework. Well, obviously your toddler doesn't have homework. But again, what we focus on are some of the core values, such as responsibility. And you can teach your toddler responsibility. It's just a matter of letting them know that, okay, you have to pick up your toys, and show them how to do that. Make a fun game out of it. So as they grow up, when it gets to be more, not serious type of responsibilities, they're going to be able to handle it because it's just a natural part of the way they grew up. So you can see all these different topics are going to apply to all ages. And that's why I would encourage you to take advantage of this, and especially with this unique group that you have, that, again, this video series and these calls will be just for your group. And that'll help you guys share some of the common challenges that you have having twins or multiples. So if you really want to take advantage of this and sign up for this, it's very simple. Just send me an email to ron@thefamilyfirstcoach.com. And in the subject line, just put WC Twins Surviving to Thriving. And I'll get back with you and we'll get you all set up. So I look forward to working with you, and have a great day.